Welcome to the session. We're really lucky to have Dorcas with us today, who's on the coast in Kenya. So she's just been discussing the differences between Wales and Kenya at the moment, and the lovely heat and humidity versus the hottest day so far this year, I think, which is about 17 degrees, which is disappointing at best. Dorcas is the executive director of an organisation called Moving The Goalposts. She works on women and girls leadership in that area. She's got an excellent background, which I think most of our participants will be interested in for a variety of different reasons, because not only does Dorcas work in sport for women and girls, she also has a bachelor's degree in environmental studies and community development, and she's an alumni of the Feminist Leadership Movement Building and Rights Institute in East Africa. All of those things really speak to our audience, Dorcas. We're having a full day today on women and girls, gender and social inclusion, which is a really important stream of work for our organisations in Wales. So we're really glad you could join us and bring your expertise to the table. I'm just going to take us through a couple of housekeeping rules for the day. These Zoom calls are slightly unusual, so I'm just going to ask Peter if you can flick through to the next slide for me. So this is a Zoom meeting format. Please ensure you're muted unless you're actively speaking. We'd like you to rename yourself and your organisation in your Zoom window if you don't have anything in there at the moment. However, we are recording this session, so please feel free to put anon as your name and turn your camera off if you don't want to be seen on social media or on the recording when we put this out afterwards. You've just participated in the poll, and we'd really appreciate if you could participate in any polls or feedback survey at the end. This is really unusual for us. We're running lots of online sessions this year, and from our perspective, it's been great because we've been able to speak to people like Dorcas, who we might not have been able to speak to if we'd been holed up in a meeting room somewhere in the dark depths of Wales. So there are certainly benefits to online working, but we also know people do look forward to getting together couple of times a year. We really want you to actively participate. No one is required to, of course, but if you have questions, put them in the chat box as we go along, and I'll come to them towards the end, or if they're really pertinent, I'll ask them in the moment. And we will be bringing people on screen as well if you want to raise your hand when we get into question and answers. Peter, can you just flick to the next slide for me? Also, please treat each other with respect. This is a safe space for minoritized communities. We won't tolerate any forms of abuse, and we do encourage challenging and constructive conversation, of course, because that's how we learn, but people's lived experiences are not up for debate. And that said, if you do have any serious concerns or you feel like you've been impacted by anything on this call, please get in touch with us, and you can make a safeguarding complaint after the event by going to WCIA's website and looking for the whistleblowing policy. That said, we are online, and we are looking forward and have had a really great week so far with lots of interesting questions and comments. So Dorcas, I am going to hand over to you in a second. I am going to try and share my screen though, which is when my tech skills absolutely fall to pieces, and when because Dorcas has sent me across a presentation which I'm going to click through, and you're going to speak to. So if Dorcas, if you want to introduce yourself a bit, and I'm going to bring the presentation up and we can begin proceedings. That relies on me actually being able to do this though, so do bear with me 1 second. It's funny how reliant I get on my team to just bundle me out of moments when I'm really not competent with a computer. Hold on. I need to show all windows. I'm going to share. Okay, got it. Yes. Okay. This is the problem with working on these laptops, is you have so many screens open all in one moment. It's really difficult actually to view. Slideshow from beginning. I think everyone can see the presentation. Dorcas, will you let me know if you can?
Yeah, you just need to start from beginning.
Excellent. Okay, I think this is, yeah, got the first slide. So I'll begin here for you and you just go for it.
Thanks, Claire. In Kenya, it's evening. I'm sure in Wales is afternoon, and wherever you are, I'm glad to be on this call. My name is Dorcas Amakobe, and I'm the Executive Director, Moving the Goalposts. I live in Kenya, in Africa, in East Africa, in the coastal part of the country, as Claire has just told you a bit about where we are located. And I'm happy to be speaking to a lot of like-minded organizations that are really eager to learn about what we do with girls and young women and how the power of sport can influence or can change lives of women and girls. I will start by introducing Moving the Goalposts. Moving the Goalposts is a sports for development organization that was founded in 2002 by a journalist and a coach who was visiting Kenya, the coast region. And one of the exciting things that she thought about when she visited the coast region was she thought about the power of sport, because that was what she had as a talent. And when she interacted with girls, she just thought about how can she influence or use her talent to encourage or to work with girls or make friends with girls and young women. And that's how Moving the Goalposts was born. To date, Moving the Goalposts is almost 18 years old. And it's now operating in 4 regions in the coastal counties in Kenya. So briefly, our vision is clearly displayed in this presentation. We believe in a fair, just, and inclusive world where girls' rights are acknowledged, respected, and realized. This is a very big vision, but as Moving the Goalposts, we take it one day at a time. And we also believe that we also take it by believing in that we will change one girl at a time. And that's why our interventions are very individual based, and also while targeting communities to see how best we can work with communities to transform the environment, to transform the cultures where these girls come from. Our mission is to positively work with communities because we believe a lot of what we are trying to change, the systemic or cultural barriers, are actually, brooding, or they're within those communities. To provide them with working with communities to provide skills and opportunities for girls and young women to achieve their full potential through football, and some people would say soccer. Claire, if you don't mind, if you can move to the next slide.
Yes.
So Moving the Goalposts, when it was founded, Moving the Goalposts was founded on a model. Moving the Goalposts model is a way of conveying a message that girls can play football as well as boys can. And one of the things that we are very cognizant with is that the stereotypes that exist in communities, we believe that these stereotypes or cultural practices should be challenged at all times. We also believe that girls and boys should have equal opportunities. And this we mean opportunities that include access to education, access to leadership opportunities within their communities and beyond. And I just want you to imagine, because I know some of you have been in Africa, others have not been in Africa. I've been to Wales, and I know, I imagine that some of these issues that I'm speaking to, some of you could be aware of. So imagine a football pitch in your community, and a teenage girl in Africa, that is a younger me, And the girl is at the center of that pitch. And as she gets at the center of that pitch, one of the things that happens to her is that as she plays football, things slowly unfolds for her. She opens up and takes up more space, because one of the things that when we grow up or when we start leaving our communities is that a lot of the space for girls and young women is in the household, burdened with a lot of household chores. So the moment she gets liberated and gets to the football pitch, a lot of things unfold for her. She takes up more space, that particularly spaces, football pitches in our communities are normally, accessed by boys. And she expands her horizon. She meets new friends. She is able to, explore her environment more. And she does so by building her confidence and being able to access opportunities that our organization provides. For example, access to reproductive health and rights information and knowledge. And that in itself, we feel, is very empowering. And this girl, when immediately she joins the pitch, one of the things we work on is we make sure that she joins a team. A lot of you who are here who have played a sport, being on a team is something that is you can't explain. It's just being part of a smaller community, a very powerful, neat community. And a lot of the interventions we start. Claire, I can see my internet is a bit unstable. My internet was unstable. Can you hear me?
We can still hear you. It's breaking up a little bit, but we're managing to catch what you're saying.
Okay, so she gets on a team. Thank you for that. And one of the things that we believe that she starts doing is she becomes a leader and a role model to other girls. And she keeps growing from 9, she gets to 10, because we work with girls between the age of 9 to 25. And she incrementally gets new knowledge, new information while playing football. And ultimately, we believe that her confidence grows. She becomes more skillful, and she breaks free from the culture of dependence on others, because a lot of the belief is that women or their family members, and this will be a lot of, at that time when that is happening, the parents, the boys are on the sidelines. They are watching. They're curiously imagining, what is this girl doing? As on the sidelines, initially when we start, there are no people on the sidelines, but also the people on the sidelines actually maybe a bit critical, watching her and saying, let's wait and see if she's going to kick this ball really well. Then one by one, people start coming to watch the girls, parents, families, schools, communities, and the government, experience. There are people, move away from just being on the sidelines watching the girl. They become participants, and they start, being part of the transformation that happens in this girl's life. So that's our theory of change. That is our model. And we believe that when we are working with a girl, we want to bring all these people to experience, to watch, to see, and support the girls as she transitions to become a better person in society. Thank you, Claire. I would like to move to the next slide. So I've actually hinted briefly on the lives of girls in the coastal region of Kenya. Unfortunately, the situation is not as easy as you might imagine. girls in Kenya or in the coastal region experience sexual and interpersonal violence. And I think that's also a lot of studies have shown that even during Corona, COVID-19, you have seen the studies and the indicators that a lot of sexual violation, interpersonal violence has been happening during that period. There's a lot of incidences of sexual coercion. Girls are forced or raped, and we have a lot of incidences of where girls' rights are really abused. And if there's sexual violation, if there's sexual coercion, if there's early sexual debut that a girl during that time is not well informed, increased cases of girls and young women within the age within which we work with are contracting HIV and AIDS. And that includes also, as much as they are contracting HIV and AIDS, some of them have to take care of the burden of care of their families, because remember, their role in families is to take care, to do household work. So a lot of them will be pulled away from schools to be able to take care of sick people. We also still have challenges of early marriages where girls and young women are married early in Kenya. Just yesterday we had a conversation on age of consent in Kenya, because our legislators were pushing for our age for consent of sex for children because a child in Kenya is up to the age of 19 to be reduced, is 18, sorry, to be reduced. And we are saying that we know that girls are below the age of 18 should not be, coerced into sex, or should not be, taken advantage of by just reducing their age of consent for sex. There's poverty. We work in arid and semi-arid areas. Key in these areas is, drought. A lot of communities do not, because of the hot, longer hot seasons, a lot of the communities do not produce enough food, and therefore have to, most of the time, rely on government aid. Unwanted and unplanned pregnancies, lack of jobs among young girls and young women. A lot of them doing domestic duties. I've spoken about that. So that's like characteristic of the life of a girl, a rural girl in Kenyan coastal communities. Thank you, Claire. Next, please. So we use, as I say the word sport, I mean football. And we use football as a tool to work with girls and young women. And our strategies are girl-centered. Our planning and the design of our work has girls at the center of our work. How do we do this, and why do we do this? We believe that for us to be able to change gender perceptions, approaches to gender, we believe that communities have to be convinced that women and girls should not play the traditional roles that they are used to. And that's why playing football. And that's why Moving the Goalposts starts by empowering girls to lead their communities. So girls form in teams, and these teams now become areas where girls are safe. And when girls are running their leagues in Moving the Goalposts, we start by ensuring that the officiating of these leagues, which I'll try to explain, whereby the people who will be refereeing the matches, the people who will be organizing the activities will be girls and young women. And that is an expectation we have with girls. And how do we do this? Every school holiday, we train around 400 girls to become coaches, to become referees, to become fast aiders so that they can give first aid support to the reproductive health messages. We do this by designing, sorry, my internet is a bit unstable, by designing very simple messages that can be delivered by the girls themselves, because we believe that if we have adults delivering these messages, there's going to be a barrier, and we don't want to continue perpetuating the barrier that that young people still face in terms of accessing information, in terms of accessing services. So we provide that holistic package by ensuring that the young person is going to reach out to the same young person. And therefore, our program has a lot of its design is ingrained in ensuring that girls are at the center, girls are delivering, and girls are benefiting. As we do that, one of the things we learned over time is that you can target girls as much as you can. But then when they go back to their households, a lot of the benefits of the information that you pass through to the girls, or the confidence you build in the girls, can be destroyed in one night. And because of that, we have a very strong program on community engagement. How do we do this? We work with parents of girls, and we work with communities. In Kenya, there's a Swahili. So Kiswahili is our other language apart from English that we communicate, universally within the country, where different tribes now can be able to communicate. And we have a term called Let's Know Each Other. We encourage communities to interact with the girls, to know exactly who are the leaders who are trained, who are the girls who are delivering the service, what are they doing in the fields. And by doing this, we also take the opportunity to train parents on sexual reproductive health. A number of them have experienced the same challenges our girls have experienced. And therefore, telling them to have positive reinforcement, telling them to respect girls' rights can be very difficult if they do not understand why. If you also do not assist them to heal. For a lot of our time having conversations with parents, talking to them about what experiences did you go through, and trying to help them understand that it's not necessarily, their daughters should not necessarily go through the same challenge. And why it's important to uphold girls' rights, why it's important not to marry a girl early, because you yourself got married early. So we try to and have public conversations where we're wrong, and that we have empowered. Everyone is committing that when they live there, a lot of the atrocities, a lot of the cultural practices that are happening against girls and young women are not going to happen. And therefore, then we can have more girls attending school, because when we do that, then we are monitoring, is the girl who is in our program going to school? Is the girl supported? If any of them is pregnant, what are we doing to ensure that we support her so that she can return back to school? I'll speak about our interventions, our advocacy interventions later. And then secondly, we also realize, apart from just the general community interacting with them, we realize that in African culture or in coastal region, men have to be approached differently. And you cannot assume that when you're having those community dialogues, you are there listening and they will still reinforce the values, the perceptions they have against women. So we have a separate program which we call Young Men as Equal Partners program, where we work with boys who are playing in the same fields where girls are playing. And we have designed an 8-month curriculum, which has sessions on their own reproductive health, male reproductive health. We talk to them about the changes that happen to their own bodies. We also talk to them about positive, masculinity, on how, the different cultures and how they demand of them differently, and why it's important for them to uphold the rights of women and girls. One of the things we believe that as we are doing that, we are ensuring that, one, girls are going to live in a peaceful community, and two, that, you know, these are future partners, they are brothers in the same household, because we want to reduce the burden of work, even for the workload for girls. And therefore, as we speak to them on how can you share roles within the family with your sisters, and later on when we are measuring our change, we ask girls, have they seen any change? Do their brothers support? Do the fathers, are fathers willing to pay for their education? Are fathers willing to prioritize girls' needs? Because, you know, girls have additional needs like sanitary pads. Are they willing to prioritize that? So a lot of that conversation goes into specifically that are designed to target men, so that we can ensure that both communities in general and men as a very, you know, specific group are targeted, so that they can provide the support that we need to be able to empower girls. Thanks, Claire. Let me just move this, sorry. Thank you. So one of the things that we believe that or I would advise people who are on this call, when you're talking about you know, female leadership in your work, it's important that when you're planning your activities, plan with the needs of the girls in the mind. And one of the things that when you know, football or sport may sound like an easy thing, it's important to also be aware, are the fields safe? Are the households safe? Because you can be making interventions to individuals, but then a lot of these girls may be going back and facing so many challenges within the households that you may never be told about. And we also ensure that when you're scheduling activities, and that's why our league activities are always on a weekend, on a Saturday, so that we do not overwhelm girls to come and participate in our events during a weekday when they've had a very heavy school day. So during the weekend, they have time to play, time to have fun, time to discuss their sexual reproductive health, and time to check on others. One of the things that is very important for us is the child protection strategies. When we started our program in the coastal region, a lot of the abuses that were happening to girls were never reported. We also realized that our program itself was also a potential risk for girls. Let me explain how. We had our leaders, I've said we work with volunteers who are also from the same communities. And a lot of them have experienced abuses like physical abuse. So some of them would use physical abuse, or they want to use emotional abuse, like when they're saying, you know, you can run 10 laps, you can, like if you're late to the field, we are going to make sure that, you know, you sit aside and you become lonely. So those are some of the factors that we looked at and assessed and checked. And are we contributing to additional trauma to the girls when they come to our program? And therefore, a lot of the work we did was to, one, assess where are the gaps in terms of safeguarding of children within our program and outside the communities. And we developed a very strong safeguarding policy that we did together with the girls. And what we did is we made girls themselves, as we call them police in brackets, you know, to police themselves and police our staff, so that if there's any case of abuse, or girls felt uncomfortable, that incident was going to be reported. And we emphasize that, however small, because a lot of that, you know, and that you don't dig there. So we said anything you feel uncomfortable with, report. And we provided information, we provided contacts, and that has really helped in terms of, one, when our staff handle children, they are always careful so that we do not have any neglect. they do not, cause harm. They do not speak in a condescending way. So we educate the parents on the support where the children might be very difficult for them to pillar for our work with girls. And every year we monitor and check changes, anything that we are losing track of, and try to strengthen every time. As I said, we try to reduce resistance from men. I remember in 2016 when we did a survey, boys actually, when we were introducing the male engagement program, when we spoke to boys about how they feel about us engaging them, a lot of the boys said, finally, moving the goalposts has finally realize who they support. So we realized that, it's important for us to engage boys, because if you do not engage them, they're actually on the sidelines feeling a bit left out. While there's a way you can engage them and not necessarily working with them directly and having the same benefits as girls, but using the opportunity or their platform to have positive reinforcement within their communities, which in turn benefits the girls. And we also encourage open participation of girls in sport. I know we still have communities, particularly Muslim, communities where we still have reservations of girls openly participating in sport, but we are changing that. In one of the most challenging communities, what we've done now, we are engaging with their leaders, and they're now allowing their girls to participate in sport. A lot of the stereotypes that were being used to make sure that they challenge girls' participation has now reduced. Thank you. If you can move to the next slide, yeah. I love this picture. This is a footballer in training, and I will still refer back to the previous slide as we are imagining how fun football or sport can be when you're working with young people. And one of the things we have done is we have always deliberately wanted to have women in leadership positions. At Moving the Goalposts, the executive director is a woman, the chair of the board is a woman. The leaders in our communities are women. And therefore, we want to go out there and tell the girls themselves also, because this speaks to themselves. And 70% of my team at Moving the Goalposts are women. And we are trying to communicate a very strong message that girls can lead, because they previously or even currently, communities still do not have a strong sense of believing that women can lead them. And we are trying to change that. And when our girls are playing, currently we are playing our league is not professional in Kenya, our women's Premier League, but when they play there, when the communities come to watch, it is a powerful message that we are sending that, we are the only team within the region that is participating in that level of competitive sport. And that in itself is a very big message. And what we want to also, share as a lesson with this forum is that, if you're working with girls and you're very deliberate about creating, promoting leadership for women, you should have internal pathways within the organizations to develop their leadership skills, or for girls to move on to the next level of leadership. And public visibility of girls coaching, because the team Moving the Goalposts is the only Premier League that are coached by a young girl, because our coach is a former beneficiary of the team. And we believe that the visibility of girls coaching or leading activities helps to change communities' mindsets about gender roles, because it's easier to just go find a very professional coach and say they will coach the girls so that you can perform and be very competitive. But we are very consistent that it has to be a woman, and we will provide the necessary support for this woman to perform or to meet the objectives, so that we can continually pass the message. So as Claire transitions to the next slide, I hope I can proceed, Claire.
Yeah, I'll move forward again. Is that right? That one?
Yeah, next slide.
Have I gone too far, Dorcas? Your line's broken up a little bit. We can still see you.
No, that's fine. That's fine. This is where we are. Can I see the numbers before the previous slide?
This one?
Yes. Can I see the number, the bottom of the page? I don't know if it's possible.
I don't know. No, I think
yes, it's not possible. So this is just a graphical representation from the year 2002, when we started the program, and how we have continued to increase and improve the numbers of girls that are participating in the program. This year in 2022, this is the last bar. 2021, sorry, we have registered 9,000 girls to participate in our program. Maybe just what I would leave the panel, or a few tips for the panel, is what lessons can you learn from us? And I've spoken about them, in the previous conversation. Female coaches who are of the similar age to their players can be less intimidating and easier for girls to build the connection. Secondly, female coaches are more approachable. For some, support and opportunities to become coaches helps them to build confidence and overcome shyness and challenges and challenge local gender stereotype related to playing football. So I want to stop there. I don't know if Claire, you have any questions for me. I would love to pick them.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to ask a couple of questions myself, and then I'm going to ask people from the audience to come and ask some questions as well. And I might, if Hannah Pudner's willing, I might bring her onto screen in a few seconds as well, just to talk a little bit about the links between United Purpose and your organisation, which I know happened a couple of years ago. Hence, you've been to Cardiff, which is like nice to know that that we've been in close proximity at some point. I wanted to just pick up on two things that you were talking about, which I thought were particularly interesting. And one of them is, you were obviously talking about community, the importance of the community around the girls, to not be critical, to not cause them further trauma, to be kind of a supportive model, which is really important. And similarly, putting girls into leadership positions is really important as well. Often we find there's a bit of a trade-off every now and again, where lots of organisations want to work with men to improve their attitudes towards women. And I sometimes think that's because the male-led organisations are the visible ones that, male-led institutions. How important do you think that work is, or do you think we should always be looking for women-led organisations to do gender work?
Can I respond?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. Thank you. I believe, Claire, we still have, the gap is still huge when it comes to women-led organizations and the opportunities that are required to, or the investment that is required to be put, increase the voice of women in the communities, and also so that we can increase the number of role models, because a lot of, if you focus on the male organizations, it's important to work with them. But then one of the things that the power of working with women-led organizations or women of role models. And women can be the best role models for the other, because when I see Claire, has achieved to a certain level or has done something, I would always tell myself, I think if I can try something else, if not the same thing. So a lot of what we're trying to do is build role models, because a girl needs a role model. I think there's this popular phrase, if she can see it, she can be it. Because she has to see it. She has to see what she wants to be. If she can't see it, she will believe that it is the men who can be it. And therefore, if I don't see it, then a lot of this we have to change.
Because you just broke up a little bit there, but I think you're saying that we need to change. Men can see it, so they do think they can believe it, and we need that same kind of role modelling for women as well. Dorcas, I'm just going to bring Hannah in for a second, because I can see her on my screen, actually, funnily enough. And I just thought I could bring in Hannah just to talk a tiny bit as well, if you don't mind.
Hi everyone. Hi, I'm just in my car because I got builders in the house, so it's peaceful. Dorcas, hi, lovely to see you again. I had the absolute pleasure of visiting Dorcas in August 2019, along with some members of the Urdd, and I know that there's some in the audience. So just to say hi, Ryan. It was an absolute pleasure. United Purpose has been working with Dorcas and Moving the Goalposts for years now. And it's such an important project, such an important partner for us, and it's because you're leading the way in Kenya. I think you're leading the way in girls' empowerment in international development, and I think it's too often that big INGOs will work with what we call local partners, and we just almost think of it as like a one-way transaction. We give funding and then we have stipulations around safeguarding or finances that we expect our partners to adhere to. And actually, with Moving the Goalposts and Dorcas and all her team, we learn a lot. We learn a lot from Moving the Goalposts. And I think it's a shining example of how this should be a two-way partnership. These types of relationships need to be partnerships, and it's reciprocal. And it's the learnings that Moving the Goalposts can give organisations like United Purpose and other international INGOs on how to do this type of work incredibly well. And if we have a role in that, it's about shouting about it really loudly, sharing the good work, and trying to share the lessons as widely as possible. And it's just incredibly important. And the other thing I think it's really Moving the Goalposts has shown is that the power of sport. I think it's really underutilised in international development. United Purpose works in it, and the reason that we linked with Moving the Goalposts is because we merged with International Inspiration, which was the 2012 Olympic and Paralympic legacy organisation, which was using sport as a tool. And I just think that international development could be using sport much more, not just as a way to engage people, but a way to really develop and empower people. And I think it's been wonderful. I'm not a sporty person at all. For anyone who knows me, certainly knows that. But I was deeply, deeply impressed with the trip with the Urdd. And actually, Claire, some people from the on Rodd as well as Ryan. I don't know, maybe if someone wants to chip in, but I think we all found that trip incredibly enlightening and powerful. So thank you, Dorcas. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Han. Thanks for joining us from your car today. I think it's probably an important question, actually, Dorcas, a bit about your background as well. Leading a sport organisation, has sport been something that's been important to you as well in terms of developing your leadership? Because you clearly are a leader and a role model in your community. Has sport played a part in that, or is it something a bit left field for you and it's come from something different?
Yeah, sport was, I wouldn't say that it was incredible. It was something that was engaged in sport when I started working, when one of my uncles invited me to be a team manager of a girls' team. And being part of the team managing girls in that program was very eye-opening, because I was only working with men. And I had only played sport in high school, and it was just I played table tennis, and that was really, you know, fun for me. I enjoyed the trips, the school trips, and when I went to college, there was no sport. You know, the college I went to, there was nothing like sport. We only did prayers. So when I got this chance and I interacted with the girls, I realized a lot of the abuses girls had to go through under, you know, the leadership of men who were coaches. And I really fought hard for those girls. I remember, you know, I was never in good terms with the coach, but because I had a contractual obligation, he had to work with me and I had to work with him. And my goal, the reason why I went there was to protect the rights of the girls, because this was a UNICEF-funded program and they were really keen about protecting the rights of girls. And I learned a lot. And when I came to Moving the Goalposts, one of the things that I said is that, you know, protection, safeguarding women leaders, I think that was my work with girls in our sport, and they do not have anyone they're looking up to in that sport.
Thank you, Dorcas. I'm not sure if anyone else is going to put any questions in the box. We've got Ryan and Rod from the Urdd here, who obviously are keen and have worked alongside this project before. I guess I'm interested as well on the impacts of COVID-19 and on the girls' lives in the football programme. How do you need to feel like you need to rebuild your community back after COVID-19, or have you been able to carry on with kind of team sports and things like that? What's next given the current climate for you?
COVID-19 heavily impacted our program in 2020. And one of the resilience building approaches that happened is that one of the goals we had was, we had to continue communicating with the girls, because remember at that time a lot of our communities are not as locked as other, you know, people who live in town like Nairobi, Mombasa. So people in communities still interact, but then they couldn't be allowed to participate in sport. They couldn't freely participate in social activities. And a lot of the safe spaces for these children is normally schools, and that was also taken away from them. So what we did is that we procured a bulk SMS system, and we continued conveying messages to the parents. We actually, our team of staff who normally visits the girls physically every week now became like, how the people who respond to calls, like a call center sort of. So every day they would call at least 50 girls and check on them, check on their parents, and you know the problems of even for a voice call, sometimes it might never go through So every time they would really try to make sure that they're checking on the girls, check on the parents, pass the information. And then after a lot of the restrictions were lifted, then we changed our program to fitness sessions. We did not continue with competitive football, like the drills and everything. So we did fitness sessions, and one of the additional sessions for our health program was COVID-19, because we saw ourselves as a COVID-19, and to also enable girls to know exactly what COVID-19 is and how they can protect themselves from COVID-19. For girls who are out of school, one of the opportunities that we saw in COVID was making of masks. And two of the girls, actually, because some donors helped us with funds to procure masks. So we didn't go to your traditional supplier, big pharma company people. So we asked our girls who were tailors to produce these masks. And because we got funding from UN Women, and we have a center in our premises where girls can come and learn skills, we had sewing machines there. So the girls actually borrowed our sewing machines to come and make the masks. And two of them actually were able to make masks. They bought their own sewing machines, and now they're running their own businesses independently. So I think some of the girls benefited positively out of COVID. There are still challenges in terms of, viability of businesses, how they can operate. But then we are continuing to engage with the girls, and that's why by last year, this time we hadn't managed to register the number 9,000, but in this year we have managed, and we've started our programs very well.
Thank you, Dorcas. It's good to hear that some positive things have happened for people in the last year, and I guess the strength of your organisation, by the sounds of it, is that you, with the girl at the centre, you're not just thinking about the sport, but you're thinking about her livelihood, you're thinking about her parents, you're thinking about her community, which just shows the intersection of the pressures on girls to kind of be able to achieve things. And I was interested as well that you're a support network outside of school as well. We had a call earlier today where they were saying that there can be kind of a policy where girls don't return to school after they've given birth, after they've had a teen pregnancy and things like that. So it's positive to hear that there are those kind of communities that wrap around and make sure girls are able to participate in knowledge gathering that isn't through that kind of formal education. I guess it's been great to hear. We've got one more minute. I'm just going to look to see if anybody else, and Ryan, I think I've just taken himself off of mute, so I'm going to let him chime in if he wants to speak.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question to Dorcas, actually, regarding sort of a program that we're running soon. So hi, nice to see you again, Dorcas and Hannah and George. It's been a while. We're actually running. Do you know what? We're actually starting a girls targeted project soon. I think it's supposed to launch after Easter. And I just wanted to ask, in terms of recruitment, regarding the Moving the Goalposts program and project, what we're hoping to do is try and get more girls. The whole project that we're running is trying to get more girls to take part in sport in Wales. And but what we sort of struggle with quite often is, like you mentioned in your presentation, sort of girls seeing sport as sort of a boys thing to do rather than sort of it's for them. And so maybe my question is sort of, what kind of strategies do you use to recruit girls? I know you spoke about sort of having girls there in the first place, but maybe do you go with sort of a targeted approach in terms of recruitment, or is it sort of anyone can turn up kind of basis?
Thanks, Ryan. Nice seeing you again. I'm glad you're starting a girls program. I'm so excited. I wish I could come and join you to do the preliminaries, but I can give my advice here. I think one of the fundamental things around recruitment is one, involve the girls themselves when you're doing the recruitment, because we've seen that a lot of the messaging, when you're creating messaging, target the girls and let the girls be able to snowball to fellow girls, because it's the best way, because they want to come where their friends are. And you want to make sure that their friends have the best experiences so that they can be able to tell others. And that's why I talked about the safeguarding aspect, because if they have any negative experience, definitely they are going to say that's a crap program. You know, you don't go there. People speak, you know, rude to you. They don't like you. So, and you have to make sure that, you know, you promote that team spirit when you're doing it, make it fun. And during recruitment, a lot of the girls, the reason why they believe what they believe is their parents. It's sad to know that. And one of the target groups I would also recommend is the parents of these girls. Please create messaging to parents. Ensure that parents understand why girls should participate. Because they will be the ones, the moment, because some of them maybe have never, participated in sports, they did other things. And you just need to convince them to believe that their daughter can actually have the best experience. And a lot of them, because previously sport was male or was male dominated, maybe they've had some of them had very negative experiences themselves. So you have to really try and communicate with them, have people speak to them so that they can encourage their daughters and support their daughters when they're participating in sport. I think I will give you an example of myself. When I was trying to get my 9-year-old to play in Moving the Goalposts, my biggest challenge was she loved music, but I was like, you can try sport. And when she got on the pitch, she really loved, being on the pitch. So every time she would come home, because her team was always defeated or their team lost. And a lot of the young girls, particularly teenage girls, managing loss is a very difficult thing because they're in a very critical age where they want to be on the winning side all the time. So with that, if you want them to continue participating, the parents have to be very supportive in helping them have conversation about, why you lost, how you can win, why, losing is not bad. Because, the emotional journey in sport when you're playing competitive or when it is even fun and you did just an activity that maybe they challenge each other and one felt like I lost, they really need a lot of support. So I would say 1, yes, target the girl and the girls themselves and target their parents. I think you get a lot of support. You're muted. You're muted.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you, Ryan, for asking the question. In Wales now, I've learned, I don't know much Welsh, but I do know ti am mute means I'm on mute, and I hear that several hundred times a day, I think. So I'll never learn. I'm just going to wrap the call up because we have another session and someone will need to come on to this Zoom account to set up the next session. So I just want to say thank you to everyone for participating. It's really nice to see United Purpose and Urdd join in as well, actually. It shows the kind of the power of the connections that we can make between organisations. And I hope, like you said about snowballing effects, I hope this kind of these connections snowball for you at making the goalposts, moving the goalposts as well, in the way that I think a lot of people will have learned quite a lot about sport and women today. I know I have. I know it was all about competition for me and not about fun, and it's good to hear that the focus is fun for sure. I'm just going to ask my colleague to launch a poll potentially, if he's still on the line. I hope he is, for people just to give a bit of feedback. The feedback isn't going to go public, so you can be honest. We'll keep it internally for our own benefit, and obviously we'll let Dorcas know, because generally things like these go down really well. So I'm just going to keep that up for 60 seconds. So please do let us know. I just want to say, Dorcas, thank you as well for joining in with us today. When I asked a few big organisations in Wales who I should be inviting to speak, Hannah, obviously, you were the first person that came to mind as being kind of an inspirational woman who can lead a discussion on a day all about gender and inclusion and in women. So thank you for doing that for us, and yeah, I'm sure you're an enormous role model for the women and girls that you're working with in Kenya at the moment. And I'm going to finish the call in just a few seconds, but I do hate the kind of sending everyone off into the abyss as I end the call, because it feels a bit strange. But Dorcas, I will pick up with you afterwards and send you an email to thank you, and thanks to everyone else. There's a further survey that's going to go out, which you're more than welcome to complete. We'll be sending it to all participants afterwards if you want to give us more additional qualitative feedback. But otherwise, thank you everyone. Thank you for coming. Goodbye. Hope to see you all soon.